Hey everybody, welcome to episode 48 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. 20 minutes with some of the world's top fitness professionals. I'm your host, Anthony Rennie. You can check out the show notes at stop20podcast.com. That's just going to lead you right to my new website, Continue. It's continuefit.com. It's where everything, Strength Coach Podcast, Strength Coach TV, tell me about that book, and Stop and Give Me 20 is under one umbrella. All right, but before you do that, go to iTunes and subscribe to the show. I know I say it a lot, but ratings, reviews, and subscribing to the show really helps us out, gets us out there. All right, for today's episode, I have on Allistair McCaw, and Allistair is a world-renowned sports performance consultant, mindset coach, and team culture builder. He's worked with numerous Olympians, Paralympians, world champion athletes, and Grand Slam winners. He's actually just in New York at the U.S. Tennis Open, working with one of his players and went to the finals. Very cool. He's an author and a keynote speaker. He consults to coaches, athletes, teams, and college programs around the country and around the world, where he teaches and implements the champion-minded culture and approach. That's the name of his new book, Champion-Minded. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. Allistair, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
All right, bud. Let's get right into this. What's your story?
All right. My story is I was born in Northern Ireland. Funny enough, the same hospital as Rory McIlroy, the golfer.
All right.
Immigrated to South Africa when I was 6. And I think from a young age, I've always been involved in sports. I can even remember in school playing 6-7 sports a season, cross country, tennis, rugby, cricket, you name it. And that was one of the cool things about growing up in South Africa, is that, we were exposed to so many sports. And obviously the climate allows a lot of outdoor activity. So I was really, really thankful for that. But I think from a young age, Anthony, I always wanted to be a champion or a professional athlete. I knew that from the age of 9 and 10. And I can remember drawing stuff and putting motivational quotes above my bed, even when I was, as young as 10, 11. And it was something I was always had a vision for. So cut a long story short, I competed for South Africa. I went to 5 world championships in triathlon. I was the 16 and under 5K champion as well. And I just knew I'd be involved in sport one day. And it's a passion for me. It's a love. So that seed was planted very, very young. So, yeah, and here I am, still in sports and still loving it like I did when I was 10.
Very cool. Wait, so how'd you kind of get into the running piece of it? Because normally, that's just something that, you kind of, once you get into, I guess, high school or something, a lot of people start thinking about running. How'd you get into that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, from when I was 10, I wanted to be a tennis champion. So that's, and here I am today still involved in tennis in a professional level. But I got to around about the age of 14. We got to high level, but it was very, very tough financially on my family. And we couldn't afford that, 4 boys and the costs of coaching and all that stuff. So one day I just decided to hang it up, put a pair of running shoes on and worked hard in that. I always had that work ethic and that discipline. So I always believed, and I obviously don't want to sound too arrogant here, but whatever sport I could have taken up, I would have done well in it, because my attitude, my work ethic, my discipline was always high. That's how I ended up in running, which then went into triathlon. So that's how I ended up there.
Love it. Who was that person kind of growing up, though? Who's that superhero? Who's that person you were kind of looking up to that really influenced you to be who you are as well?
At a young age, I really didn't have any superheroes. I really looked up to 1 or 2 coaches and teachers I had when I was in school. The ones that were tough on me, but fair. And, I was very blessed to have those people in my life. So there wasn't anyone in as such. Obviously growing up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have as much social media that you could follow people. But, I would say it would be some of the teachers I had.
Nice. What about now? Because right now, you've written the 7 keys to being a great coach, champion minded. I know on all your social media, you're always posting a lot of motivational coach. You're really into coaching. Who out there for you is doing some great things that you're kind of looking up to?
That's a good question. In the fitness industry, I've always looked up to Coach Boyle, and it's obviously been very lucky to be able to follow a lot of his stuff, listen to him, and also catch some of his stuff on your podcast as well. That's another tough one to answer right now. People that have gone through adversity. No matter what field it's been in, or people that have overcome adversity have always been superheroes for me. So I really can't put it down to one person. So,
all right, what about who you're trying to be a superhero to? Because again, with the coaching, you have a lot of the inspiration on your social media. You've written 2 books, 7 Keys to Being a Great Coach and Champion Minded. Who are you trying to be a superhero to with your message?
I think my purpose has always been to get the best out of people, regardless of where they're from. Something for me is always about where you're going, not where you're from. So right now, I'm really enjoying working with college level athletes, youth. Especially at that age where you don't really know what you maybe want to go into, for example. So I'd say I want to be a superhero to this younger generation coming through. I feel there's just so much guidance that's needed there right now. So yeah, I'd say that.
I agree. And this is going to segue into Champion Minded, I guess, into your book. But for me, I kind of hate when people say about the Millennial Generation or they use the generation as an excuse. And I kind of think of it more as parenting. I think parents are doing a bad job. And I think that's why coaching is probably really even more important right now. Talk to me about where you feel like, the generation is, or because you've kind of been coaching for a while and you've seen different the kids coming up, and how are they different, and what's some good things about it, and what are some what direction are we heading with this?
You know what, Auntie? I would say that's the one area where I've been investing most of my time in, probably in the last year. I'll be honest with you. I haven't looked at a drill or an exercise in ages. But one of the game-changing books I read was by Anna Lolita, if I got that right, Unlocking Generational Codes. And exactly what you said there right now. We've got to look at the generation before this one to see what happened. This book really, really hit the nail on the head for me with understanding why generations the way they are, how they were molded beforehand, what happened during those times, for example. So, definitely, I believe the future of coaching is understanding the generations better, not understanding the drills and skills.
Absolutely. Talk to me about the direction that you wanted to go with Champion Minded, though. With what was the message that you really wanted to get out there for, and who's the book for?
I wrote this book intentionally for athletes, but it's for coaches and parents as well, or actually anybody who wants to improve life skills. Sport teaches us so much, and there's so many lessons to be learned from sport. We just spoke about the controllables of work ethic, discipline, integrity, teamwork, all these things that are important in life. But the direction I want Champion Minded to go is obviously that your greatest talent are going to be the controllables, your mindset, your attitude, your positivity, the way you handle adversity. Are you a problem solver or a problem maker? These were some of the lessons I try to get across in this book. And not just sports skills, but life skills too. So again, influencing younger generation. And then obviously I'd like to take Champion Minded into what we're going to call Champion Minded culture of building better teams.
You started out in the book. Section 1 is preparing to train. What do you feel like? Give us an overview of really what this section. What are you trying to prepare them to prepare to train?
Yeah. Well, 3 distinct areas on the mindset. Second one is preparation in terms of equipment, organizational skills, time management, accountability, all these things that are incredibly important in not just in sports but in life. And then the third one, excuse me, was motivation. Motivation being such an important thing. Motivation can be tough. Sometimes you can wake up and not feel like doing it, but one of the chapters I wrote in the book was about purpose, your deeper purpose to why you do what you do, for example. So that's what that section was more or less about just preparing the mind, preparing the physical things, the equipment, the structure you have, and then of course staying motivated.
Where do you think coaches kind of I don't want to say going wrong, but what are some things coaches can do to really make a bigger impact?
It's going to sound a little cliche, but it's really, really understanding who they're training. Again, getting back to that generational thing, really understanding how this generation think. I think sometimes coaches are just seeing it from their side too much certain times, instead of really seeing it from the athlete or the team that's in front of them. So I think that's an area that coaches could really improve in. Empathy, if you want to call it, really, really getting to understand and care for that person in front of them.
Yeah, I was kind of rereading Joe Ehrmann's book, Inside Out Coaching. Have you read that?
I haven't, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, it's kind of talking about similar what you're talking about, but first finding out more about dealing with yourself first and understanding who you are to kind of be, and then you're going to be able to help the kids much better, because I think Coach Ehrmann is on a mission to, similar to you, to understands the impact that coaches have on young people, not just in their sport but in their life.
Exactly. And funny you should say that, because the last quote in Champion Minded basically states, mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. And that's what it comes down to. As leaders, especially in coaching, the most important person you can lead is yourself, because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others.
Absolutely. Give us, I just want to go really quick. I saw that, following you on social media a little bit, last month at the U.S. Open, kind of rooting for your guy. Just give us a window into what exactly are you doing with when you're coaching that person. I forget what their name was, first of all.
Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson.
He played the final against Rafael Nadal. Anthony, people ask me what I do, and I sometimes have to think about it, because I'm wearing so many hats, and being around sports for so long, and being in professional sports for a long time. Obviously my background, as is obviously in strength and conditioning, but I've gone more into lifestyle management, which involves obviously the mindset, the preparation, the motivation, which obviously is what Champion Minded is about. But there's so many dynamics working in a team, and especially in Kevin's team, there's probably 6-7 people that speak to him on a daily basis and consult him. So it's working from that side, making sure everything's running well, planning, especially working with a professional athlete, it's daily management. It's not so much skill coaching, but it's just more making sure that they're going to be able to get peak performance that day.
How much are you guys, because like right now, so much of what this industry has gone into, and the athletic performance industry anyway, is like building a team. So like you said, he has like 6 or 7 people around him, whether that's mental coaches, fitness coaches, therapists, et cetera, et cetera. Give us a look into the window of like what you guys are doing to each other to communicate, to make sure, because you could be completely different mindset, personality than some of the other coaches who somebody could still be a great therapist and not have this champion mindset. Talk to us about how you're communicating within the team.
Well, that's a great question because it also comes down to the culture of the team, and there's so many important dynamics there. This has been an exceptionally successful team due to no egos. Everybody knows what their job is. Everybody knows what the expectations are. One of the most important things, and this is what I do when I work with colleges, building team culture, is communication. Consistent, clear communication. And I think that has been one of the huge keys to the success in this team. Is every single day we have great communication. We all know what's going on. We know how Kevin's feeling. I think that's been one of the key areas.
All right, now it's time for the Stop and Give Me 5 segment. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, give me your worst, most brutal, you hated, you wanted to just die, running, like whatever it was, marathon, duathlon, triathlon, any endurance event. What event was that? Just a little bit.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, it must have been back in 2013 where I ran 12 in 12 months, and I think it was number 9. And
12 marathons?
Yeah, 12 marathons in 12 months. Yes, it was one a month, and I think it was number 9. And it was actually a cross-country marathon. It wasn't on the road, and I probably got to around. And there's not a lot of athletes who do this, so it's pretty easy to lose your way. I got around to about 22-mile mark, and I got lost. And I ended up eventually finding my way back, probably about 2.5 hours later.
Oh no!
And and obviously I was not included in the official results. So. That was probably one of the most gut-wrenching moments of running pretty much 3.5 hours and then getting lost and not getting a finish there. So I actually had to run another marathon a week later to keep up with the goal, which was one a month.
Oh man. You've been all over the world, different events. When you see an event somewhere, like on the map, what's your favorite? Like, what are you looking forward to? What's that place that you want to be at?
Sports?
Yeah.
You know what? The culture of New Zealand, the All Blacks rugby, has always appealed to me. And obviously I shared the last name with their former captain there, which was fun. But New Zealand, it's just an incredible country. It's beautiful, but their rich culture in rugby, that's appealing to me. And then I've always been a huge Formula One fan, race car fan. So visiting Monte Carlo a few years ago was a surreal moment for me. So yeah, two completely different places.
Very cool. Give us some, like when you go back to South Africa, what is you kind of, I know when I come home, if I've been away for a long time, I'm always like, I got to go to Sal's to get a slice of pizza. What's the first thing when you go back to South Africa? What do you like? What are you looking forward to doing?
A braai. Every South African will know what a braai is, and that's our traditional barbecue, which, we obviously have the South African meats in that, but you just can't beat that taste. So definitely that's one of the first things I want to do.
All right, cool. Lunch with any coach from the past, from the present, they can still be living. Who is it?
Sir Alex Ferguson, the Manchester United coach for 27 years. I find him exceptional to be in one club for 27 years and to have that much success. And, we talk about working with different generations. He probably worked with 3 different generations and was still able to get results. So for sure, I'd love to buy Sir Alex Ferguson lunch.
All right. 2 people not in the fitness or sports world, we should follow.
Jay Shetty on Facebook and Instagram. Just a super, super positive guy.
How do you spell that?
Jay Shetty, Shetty.
Okay.
Just a super positive guy, and he sees life from a really cool perspective. And then probably John Maxwell, who's an author, also a team builder, motivational speaker, but he puts some good stuff out there as well. So John Maxwell and Jay Shetty.
Very cool. Let's go. What project are you working on? Anything right now that's gotten you really excited?
Yep. Well, obviously, Champion Minded was just released a few weeks back, but that's been taking up most of my time. Presenting a lot on that, and I'm already working on the next version of Champion Minded. So that's getting me super excited.
Awesome. What I love about Champion Minded is I'm actually reading the Daily Stoic as well. It's 365, pages of, a daily,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like Champion Minded is a similar thing. I like when I can go and read a page or two and just get so much out of it. So I like that. I love that format. Very cool.
Well, that's another cool person to follow as well, by the way. Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
Who wrote Daily Stoic and Ego is the Enemy and Obstacle is the Way. So he's got some fantastic books.
He really does. Letter to your younger self, young little Allistair sitting there in South Africa, not the Ireland Allistair. So what's that advice you're going to give yourself?
That would be trust the process, outwork your opponent or your competitors. Don't make excuses. Everybody has an opportunity if you make that opportunity. But yeah, I would say that would be my advice to myself, and maybe just to stop and smell the roses sometimes, just to have a little bit more fun. I was always super, super serious. So to just have some fun.
All right, very cool. Great advice. Love what you're doing. Love your mission. And, I think your consistent message it's really important that the way you're delivering your message, it's great. It's like Champion Minded is something that I was really looking forward to getting, and I've kind of jumped into a few passages. So, Allistair, thanks for coming on and doing this today.
And thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 48 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. Thanks again to Allistair McCaw. Make sure to check out all the links to all his stuff at stop20podcast.com or continuefit.com. Don't forget, subscribe to the show, leave us a review and a rating. It helps us out tremendously. My name is Anthony Renna. Thanks so much for stopping by.